What is going on, you guys? My name is Daniel and welcome back to the channel where we go over everything mirrorless Canon cameras. Today we're going over things on the R6 and the first settings that you should be changing when you pick it up. In my opinion, there's some pretty good ones. Let's get into it. First off, I already have another video over here on how to adjust all of the settings inside your viewfinder to make it as optimized as possible for your own use for whatever situation that you're shooting using histograms, levels, grids, and stuff like that. You can check it out over there. We're not going to go any further into stuff like that. With that being said, there is one that I left out, and it is the adjustment compensation and the AF touch and drag, and we're going to go over those two right now. Alright, what AF touch and drag does is it allows you to move while you're up in the viewfinder. It allows you to move around the focus point using the screen as if the screen were a joystick. It's pretty useful, pretty neat, and the way to set that up is you go into the AF file number 1 and the very bottom touch and drag settings, enable, and then absolute, and I have mine set up to the right hand side, absolute and relative. What that means is that it's going to be the absolute position that you put your finger, or the relative, as if you're just swiping it, it will go in that direction. Then the active part of the screen that is workable, I put it to the right hand side so that my face isn't actually touching the screen and moving my focus points. This is something to play around with and see if it's for you or not. If not, you know, at least it was something new you tried. Next is adjusting auto ISO and the compensation thereof. I find that my pictures tend to be a little bit brighter than I would like them to be when I'm in auto ISO. So if you go into your info right in here, and this screen that just popped up, we'll talk about that in a minute, how to make sure that you're actually writing to both your cards. So when you have auto, you go down to this Q on the right hand side and make sure that your ISO is on auto, and then you're allowed to, or then you can adjust this exposure compensation. And this will mean that instead of being exactly in the middle where it normally would go, it is going to then bring your ISO down a little bit so you don't overexpose. And I put it down by 1 stop. Alright, next up we're going to go into how to get your camera to write to both the cards, because I shot a wedding and they were only running to one of the cards when I thought it was running to both the cards, and that's not a very fun situation to be in when you finally discover that only one of your cards has all your photos on it. So in the tool number 1, you go into record function card and folder select. So you go under to your photos and then record to multiple. Just like that. Standard will only write to the original one in card slot number 1, and you can do the same with your video recordings as well. Next, we're going to go into stabilization of the camera, because the R6 has a wonderful, I think it's 5 stops of stabilization inside with IBIS, and this will turn off every time unless you select it to turn on always when shooting photos. So under the camera red 7, you go into IS image stabilization mode, and then you do still photos IS always on, only for shot. Yeah, so always on, and that will keep the digital stabilization on and on and on, so that you're getting this, because it's awesome and it's useful. Unless you're on a tripod, that is pretty much the only time that you want to turn this off. Next is the red beam of death, turning it off for when you're shooting live living subjects, because they don't like having a red beam blasted into their face while you're taking photos of them. So to turn this AF assist beam firing off, you just simply go into AF purple number 2 and AF assist beam firing and turn it off. I find this to not really be all that useful, even when you're not shooting living subjects. And the final one for this video, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like down below and subscribe so that you can always enjoy videos on how to shoot better with your R6. And the very last one is going to be in copyright information. So if you go under the red tool, or the yellow tool, and you go into number 5, the copyright information right there, and you should just be putting your name, enter author's name, enter copyright details. So as you take photos, your copyright information is already being embedded into these photos, so that if you take an awesome photo and then you suddenly see it a month or 2 later on a billboard, you can then go sue whoever used your photo without actually taking your permission. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe down below so you don't ever miss another video on our tutorials on how to use your Canon cameras, mirrorless cameras, better. Thank you for watching.